ॐ श्री परमात्मने नमः. The next in the series of Swami Vivekananda's Practical Vedanta is his lecture delivered at Paramakudi in South India. The Paramakudi lecture of Swami Vivekananda on Practical Vedanta. Swami Vivekananda. It is almost impossible to express my thanks for the kindness and cordiality with which you have received me. But if I may be permitted to say so, I will add that my love for my country and especially for my countrymen will be the same whether they receive me with the utmost cordiality or spurn me from the country. For in the Gita, Shri Krishna says, men should work for work's sake only and love for love's sake only. The work that has been done by me in the Western world has been very little. There is no one present here who could not have done 100 times more work in the West than has been done by me. And I am anxiously waiting for the day when mighty minds will arise, gigantic spiritual minds who will be ready to go forth from India to the ends of the world to teach spirituality and renunciation, those ideas which have come from the forests of India, Himalayas, those ideas which have come from the forests of India and belong to Indian soil alone. The ideas of spirituality and renunciation are essentially ideals of India alone. There come periods in the history of the human race when, as it were, whole nations are seized with a sort of world weariness, when they find that all their plans are slipping between their fingers, that old institutions and systems are crumbling into dust, that their hopes are all blighted and everything seems to be out of joint. Two attempts have been made in the world to found social life. The one was upon religion and the other was upon social necessity. The one was founded upon spirituality, the other upon materialism, the one upon transcendentalism, the other upon realism. The one looks beyond the horizon of this little material world and is bold enough to begin life there. Even apart from the second, is content to make its stand on the things of the world and expects to find a firm footing there. Curiously enough, it seems that at times the spiritual side prevails and then the materialistic side in wave like motions following each other. In the same country, there will be different tides. At one time, the full flood of materialistic ideas prevails, and everything in this life, prosperity, the education which procures more pleasure, more food, will become glorious at first, and then that will degrade and degenerate. Along with the prosperity will rise to white heat all the inborn jealousies and hatreds of the human race. Competition and merciless cruelty will be the watchword of the day. To quote a very commonplace and not very elegant English proverb, and I quote, everyone for himself and the devil take the hindmost. Repeat, everyone for himself and the devil take the hindmost becomes the motto of the day. Then people think that the whole scheme of life is a failure and the world would be destroyed had not spirituality come to the rescue and a helping hand to the sinking world. Then the world gets new hope and finds a new basis for a new building, and another wave of spirituality came, which is time again declines. As a rule, spirituality brings a class of men who lay exclusive claim to the special powers of the world. The immediate effect of this is a reaction towards materialism, which opens the door to scores of exclusive claims until the time comes when not only all the spiritual powers of the race but all its material powers and privileges are centered in the hands of a very few, and these few, standing on the necks of the masses of the people, want to rule them. Then society has to help itself and materialism comes to the rescue. If you look at India, our motherland, you will see that the same thing is going on now. That you are here today to welcome one who went to Europe to preach Vedanta, who have been Vedanta would have been impossible had not the materialism of Europe opened the way for it. Materialism has come to the rescue of India in a certain sense by throwing open the doors of life to everyone, by destroying the exclusive privileges of caste, by opening up the discussion, the inestimable treasures which were hidden away in the hands of a very few who have even lost the use of them. Half has been stolen and lost, and the other half which remains is in the hands of men who, like dogs in the manger, don't eat themselves and will not allow others to do so. On the other hand, the political systems that we are struggling for in India have been in Europe for ages, have been tried for centuries, and have been found wanting. One after another, the institutions, systems, and everything connected with political government have been condemned as useless, and Europe is restless, doesn't know where to turn. The material tyranny is tremendous. The wealth and power of a country are in the hands of a few men who don't work but manipulate the work of millions of human beings. That is what industrialists do. By this power, they can deluge the whole earth with blood. Religion and all things are under their feet. They rule and stand supreme. The Western world is governed by a handful of Shylocks, the famous character of Shylock in the Shakespearean drama The Merchant of Venice. All of us remember. So selfish, so narcissistic, so self-centered. In today's material world, everybody else and everyone else appears to be a Shylock, out for pound of flesh, always out and eager for pound of flesh, always trying to manipulate the system. All those things that you hear about, constitutional government, freedom, liberty and parliaments, are but jokes. Jokes. The West is groaning under the tyranny of the Shylocks, and the East is groaning under the tyranny of the priests. Each must keep the other in check. Don't think that one alone is to help the world. In this creation of the impartial Lord, He has made equal every particle in the universe. The worst, most demonical, man has some virtues which the greatest saint has not, and the lowest worm may have certain things which the highest man has not. The poor laborer who you think has so little enjoyment in life has not your intellect, cannot understand the Vedanta philosophy and so forth, but compare your body with his, and you will see his body is not so sensitive to pain as yours. If he gets severe cuts on his body, they heal up more quickly than yours would. His life is in the senses and he enjoys there. His life also is one of equilibrium and balance, whether on the ground of materialism or of intellect or of spirituality. The compensation that is given by the Lord to everyone impartially is exactly the same. Therefore, we must not think that we are the saviors of the world. We can teach the world a good many things, and we can learn a good many things from it too. We can teach the world only what is waiting for. The whole of Western civilization will crumble to pieces in the next 50 years if there is no spiritual foundation. It is hopeless and perfectly useless to attempt to govern mankind with the sword. That is exactly what happened in next 50 years. The First World War, then the Second World War, and now all the wars have been unleashed on Mother Nature. The climate change, global warming, destruction of, I am talking today in today's terms, the entire mankind is groaning. This corona pandemic is not from nowhere. We have destroyed Mother Nature, the biodiversity, the wildlife, the virus, the current COVID-19, the virus came from the bat, you know this, because the destruction of the habitat, natural habitat of various species of the animal kingdom is now forcing them to make human beings as their habitat. The greatest of the scientists are telling you today about the corona pandemic. So we have unleashed a war unto the mankind and unto the entire Mother Nature. Now the wrath of nature is there for us to see. The naked dance of death is happening unless and until the entire mankind turns back, takes a step back and looks deep within what has gone wrong with our life, livelihood and lifestyles. That is what Swami Vivekananda warned more than 120 123 years ago. This lecture was given in 1897. 123 years later, in the hindsight, you find how foresightful was Swamiji's projection and prediction. The entire mankind is as if standing on the brink of extinction. That is what Swamiji predicted. There is warfare everywhere. There is strife, struggle, jealousy, riots, lynchings, murder. All this is there, and over and above that, the sickness, the pandemic, the epidemic, starvation, hunger, deprivation, exploitation, pollution, acute pollution, destruction of Mother Nature. This is all destruction. We are killing ourselves. None else is responsible, because our foundations are deeply rooted in the materialism, and materialism finally kills and kills. It is a principle of death. Spirituality alone is the principle of life, life immortal, life that nurtures everyone and everything, unless and until the vast majority of the mankind, I'm telling you, unless and until the vast majority of the mankind finds and bases his her life, livelihood and lifestyle in the fundamental principles of spirituality, eternal values of spirituality. I'm not talking about any particular religion. The fundamental and eternal laws of the cosmos. We are in for serious trouble. Corona or no corona, we are facing, the mankind is facing serious, very serious threat of extinction. See the way we have destroyed biodiversity, forests, rivers, water bodies, everywhere. We are unleashing the toxicity of Western industrial model. Now the rest of the world is imbibing, following, imitating blindly, and therefore the results are there for to see. You have no air to breathe. There is no water to drink. Now to return back to Swami Vivekananda's speech, you will find that the very centers from which such ideas as government by force sprang up are the very first centers to degrade and degenerate and crumble to pieces. It's happening this moment. Most of the hotspots of corona are in the developed countries, the so-called custodians and guardians of the modern political systems and institutions and structures and economic paradigms. So prophetic statement of Swami Vivekananda to analyze today's corona pandemic. Europe, the center of the manifestation of material energy, will crumble into dust within 50 years if she is not mindful to change her position, to shift her ground and make spirituality the basis of her life. And what will save Europe is the religion of the Upanishads, because the Upanishads and Vedanta are not parochial, sectarian, individualistic. They cut across and transcend the barriers of time and climb. They teach and preach the eternal truths of the cosmos. Eternal, immutable reality is presented in Upanishads. So sooner or later, and the sooner it's better, the mankind imbibes in his or her personal, familial, collective, community, national, and the global life, livelihood and lifestyles, the fundamentals of Upanishads. The origin place of the Upanishads is India, but there is no better condition here. The Indians have become much more hypocrites. They have very little to pretend or to be proud of. None. They are not bothered about Upanishads or Vedanta philosophy. They are again blind followers of those religious practices or blind faiths which make them go in slumber, deep slumber. They don't look within. That's a great tragedy. Back to Swamiji. Apart from the different sects, philosophies, and scriptures, there is one underlying doctrine: the belief in the soul of the soul of man, the Atman, common to all our sects, and that can change the whole tendency of the world. With Hindus, Jains, and Buddhists, in fact, everywhere in India, there is the idea of a spiritual soul, which is the receptacle of all power. And you know full well that there is not one system of philosophy in India which teaches you that you can get power or purity or perfection from outside. But they all tell you that these are your birthrights. The spiritual and divine powers all come from within and therefore are your birthrights. Your nature. Impurity is a mere superimposition under which your real nature has become hidden. But the real you is already perfect, already strong. The Atman is always perfect, wholesome and fulsome reality. That is what Swamiji is indicating towards. You do not require any assistance to govern yourself. You are already self-restrained. The only difference is in knowing it or not knowing it. Therefore, the one difficulty has been summed up in the word avidya, anadi avidya, the beginningless nescience. What makes the difference between God and man, between the saint and the sinner? Only ignorance. Only ignorance about the self. The truth within makes the difference between a saint or a sinner, between the God and the man. What is the difference between the highest man and the lowest worm that crawls under your feet? Ignorance alone is the differentiating factor. That makes all the difference, for inside that little crawling worm is lodged infinite power, the Atman, the Brahman, and knowledge and purity, the infinite divinity of God Himself. It is unmanifested, it will have to be manifested. What a tremendous divine potential being promised by Vedanta and Upanishads. And we are so unfortunate that still we are not concerned about exploring that vast treasure trove of the self within, the infinite, eternal, immortal embodiment of eternal love, bliss and beauty is ever hidden within us as the Atman, the pure consciousness. The sooner the mankind embarks on this collective adventure, I'm calling adventure, self-realization is the greatest adventure. Spirituality is the most sublime and noble adventure. The journey within is the most sublime and noble adventure and journey and true journey. This is the one great truth in India has to teach to the world because it is nowhere else. This is spirituality, the science of the soul, what makes a man stand up and work. Strength is goodness, weakness is sin. If there is one word that you find coming out like a bomb from the Upanishads, bursting like a bombshell upon masses of ignorance, it is the word fearlessness, abhayaha, abhayaha. And the only religion that ought to be taught is the religion of fearlessness, either in this world or in the world of religion. It is true that fear is the sure cause of degradation and sin. It is fear that brings misery, fear that brings death, fear that breeds evil. And what causes fear? Ignorance of our own nature alone is the root cause of all fear. Repeat. Everyone on this planet is today frightened and spooked by the corona pandemic, impending fear of disease, affliction, death. Why? Simple, and the soul and the root cause for the fear and all kind of fear is ignorance about your true nature, your true self. Once you know your true self, that is eternal, immortal, immutable, beyond death and birth, there is no fear. Once you know that you are non-dual of the nature of pure consciousness, you alone pervade all beings, starting from Brahma, the highest, to the single cell amoeba. There is nothing and no one who is other than you. You are of the nature of Atman, of the pure consciousness. Then there is nothing to desire for, nor there is anyone to feel jealous of, or to feel a sense of hatred for. You alone exist ever as Atman. Once you realize that, all problems are solved. Self-realization is panacea for all the ills and woes afflicting mankind, afflicting individuals, afflicting countries, culture, races, tribes, caste. This one vaccination, the Vedantic vaccination alone, can bring about the supreme health. That is the supreme goal of all. The supreme health, has defined in Vedanta, is abidance in the self. Swamina tisthati iti swastha. The one who abides in the self, that is in the Atman of the nature of pure consciousness, alone is healthy. And that definition of the health alone is going to rescue the mankind. Even today, when the entire world is groaning under the corona pandemic, self-realization, realization of nothing else, no external God, knowing your own true nature, discovery of your own true, immortal, eternal nature alone is panacea for all the ills and woes afflicting mankind and afflicting individual. Both way. That is the sole lesson from time immemorial. Sooner we understand it, better it is for us. And what causes fear? Ignorance of our own nature. Each of us is heir apparent of the emperor of emperors. You are emperor of the emperors. The Brahman, the Atman, is emperor of the emperors, who is immutable, eternal, beyond death and birth and all fear. That eternal emperor of emperor you are, unless and until you realize that you are emperor of emperors, you will be under the grip of fear, you will be under the grip of want, desire, and all strife. Misery, sorrow, and suffering is bound to follow, haunt you. Therefore, it's a clarion call to the entire mankind. Sooner we embark on that supreme and most noble goal of all, realization of the truth within, realization of the self within, the realization of our own true nature. Self-exploration, self-discovery alone is the greatest discovery. No amount of money that is being invested today for invention of vaccines, invention of effective medicines to treat corona patients, it will come and it will go. How many inventions and how many new medicines are every year invented and patented, and transnational pharmaceutical companies make trillions and trillions of dollars. Again, there would be, I'm sure, dozens of. Bill Gates Foundation alone is funding 8 of the potential vaccines. I'm not saying that they are doing anything wrong or right. What I'm saying that discover and embark on that discovery of the vaccine, the eternal vaccine of self-discovery, self-knowledge, self-realization, which alone leads to the authentic cessation of all the sorrows, sufferings, fears of disease, death, pandemic, and attainment of the supreme unbroken bliss of the self, Atmananda, Brahmananda. Because all of the destruction of the nature we have unleashed in the modernity and post-modernity through our economic, industrial and commercial paradigms, it was in the search of the happiness. We have done every sin, every crime unto humanity and unto Mother Earth. We celebrated, observed yesterday World Earth Day. What Earth Day? We have killed Mother Earth. Mother Earth is fighting back the wrath of the nature you are seeing. So we have unleashed unprecedented violence unto Mother Earth, and we are expecting that the Mother Earth will provide pleasure, joy and happiness to us. All wrong things, all pollution, all destruction of biodiversity and wild species has been done in the name of happiness. Material aggrandizement, material comfort for some. That supreme unbroken bliss is already available within you without any effort. A single penny of investment is not required. Just turn your attention, focus of your attention to the self within. Even a critical mass, it's not that 100% of the people would do that, but even if a small significant proportion, even 5 to 10% of the people in the world, if collectively they embark on this journey, the world will become a totally new place. A divine and heavenly, blissful, even this physical phenomenal universe would become, when you would enjoy in the true sense of the term, this would become an divine opportunity for self-discovery, self-realization, realization of your divine nature. That is the supreme goal which the mankind keeps in mind. Only then there is some future and hope, or else we are doomed to extinction. Each of us is heir apparent to the Emperor of Emperor. We are of the substance of God Himself. Nay, according to Vedanta, we are God Himself. Brahmaivahamasmi, Brahmaivahamasmi, Sohamasmi, Sohamasmi. I am not the child of the God. I am God. I am God. You are God. You are not a particle of God. You are not son of God. You are not daughter of God. You are not child of God. You are verily God, the fulsome, wholesome and supreme reality. You are realized through the immortal wisdom of Vedanta and Upanishads, that supreme reality, that Brahmananda, the bliss of Brahman, is your birthright, ever available to you in your pure consciousness. Look within. We are God Himself, though we have forgotten our own nature in thinking of ourselves a little man. We have fallen from that nature and thus make differences. This line, I was very fascinated. Even in the imitation of the Christ, this line is there, that the mankind and all of us who have fallen from the infinite bliss, the state of unconditioned love, eternal beauty and absolute bliss, we have fallen from. That state is a state of Brahman, the state of Atman, that you are fallen because of ignorance, fallen because of ego. Return back to home, your true home, eternal home. Your real home is pure consciousness, the Atman. That is what every single mode of meditation attempts. That is what all sorts of metaphysics and spiritual philosophies attempt towards. Which one is most effective? It is up to you. It doesn't matter Vedanta or no Vedanta, but realize the self, realize your true nature, not anybody else's nature, your own reality, the reality within. Explore with an open mind, not blinded by any teaching of any religion. Explore with the open mind, explore the truth and believe as it comes to you. We have fallen from that nature and thus make differences. I am a little better than you, or you than I, and so on. This idea of oneness is the great lesson India has to give. And mark you, when this is understood, it changes the whole aspect of things, because you look at the world through other eyes than you have been doing before. Your lenses and spec changes, and that changes the entire world after you follow the Vedantic teachings. And this world is no more a battlefield where each soul is born to struggle with every other soul, and the strongest gets the victory and the weakest goes to death. What is called in Western political paradigm struggle for existence and survival of the fittest in the Darwinian mode. That is what we are living today. Struggle for existence and survival of the fittest. That is the core of the capitalistic mode of economic paradigm. Free market, cutthroat competition, that would bring survival of the fittest. Struggle for existence will continue every moment. And this world is no more a battlefield. This world is no more a battlefield where each soul is born to struggle with every other soul, and the strongest gets the victory and the weakest goes to death. It becomes a playground where the Lord is playing like a child, and we are his playmates, his fellow workers. This is only a play, however terrible, Leela of the Lord. Hideous and dangerous it may appear. We have mistaken its aspects. When we have known the nature of the soul, hope comes to the weakest, to the most degraded, to the most miserable sinner. Only declares your Shastra, despair not, despair not, despair not. Don't lose your hope. For you are the same whatever you do, and you cannot change your nature. Nature itself cannot destroy nature. Your nature is pure. It may be hidden for millions of eons, but at last it will conquer and come out. Therefore, the Advaita brings hope to everyone and not despair. Its teaching is not through fear. It teaches not of devils who are always on the watch to snatch you if you miss your footing. It has nothing to do with devils, but says that you have taken your fate in your own hands. Your own karma has manufactured for you this body, and nobody did it for you. The omnipresent Lord has been hidden through ignorance, and the responsibility is on yourself. You have not to think that you were brought into the world without your choice and left in this most horrible place, but to know that you have yourself manufactured your body bit by bit, just as you are doing it this very moment. You yourself eat, nobody eats for you. You assimilate what you eat, no one does it for you. You make blood and muscles and body out of food. Nobody does it for you. So you have done all the time. One link in a chain explains the infinite chain. If it is true for one moment that you manufacture your body, it is true for every moment that has been or will come. You alone manufacture everything, your fate, fortune, and future. You are the maker and breaker of your own destiny. That is what Swamiji is trying to point towards. And all the responsibility of good and evil is on you. This is the great hope. What I have done that I can undo. And at the same time, our religion does not take away from mankind the mercy of the Lord. That is always there. On the other hand, he stands beside this tremendous current of good and evil. He, the boundless, the ever merciful, is always ready to help us to the other shore, for his mercy is great and it always comes to the pure in heart. Your spirituality, in a certain sense, will have to form the basis of the new order of society. If I had more time, I could show you how the West has yet more to learn from some of the conclusions of the Advaita Vedanta. For in these days of materialistic science, the ideal of the personal God doesn't count for much. But yet, even if a man has a very crude form of religion and wants temples and forms, he can have as many as he likes. If he wants a personal God to love, he can find here the noblest ideas of a personal God, Sakar Sagun Brahm, such as were never attained anywhere else in the world. If a man wants to be a rationalist and satisfy his religion, it is also here that he can find the most rational ideas of the impersonal Nirakar, Nirguna, Brahman. All possibilities are available here in this great motherland of ours. These lessons must go in every nook and corner of the world to make this world really a place for living. Om Shri Paramatmane Namaha. Om Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityormaya Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.